Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Joey the Veiled Cottage Witch, and today we're talking about my favorite subject, books. Now, we all have our favorite authors, right? We have authors that we have been tried and true throughout our witchcraft career. I know I have my favorite authors that I've enjoyed for 20, 30 years. Scott Cunningham, Adane McCoy, DJ Conway. These authors have been staples throughout the witchcraft community. And so today I'm going to talk about authors that are a little bit off the beaten path and maybe don't get quite the recognition as the other famous authors do. Nothing wrong with those authors. I have no hate for them. These are our authors that I would like other people to kind of get to know. I want to shine a light on those authors. Now, I do want to say that there has been, since social media has boomed, there has been a lot of books that have come out that are only available in Kindle or Audible that really don't back up what they're saying. And then we've got what I call algorithm books. And those authors are kind of AI generated. They don't really have a bibliography or even a works cited. They don't have anything to back up their UPG or unverified personal gnosis, right? So for me, the sign of a reputable author is a bibliography. If they don't have a bibliography, they're just spouting things that they have learned or that they know or they believe to be true, but they have no research to back that up. So it is really important that they have those facts. They have places where you can research what they say. So a bibliography, or at least a works cited or recommended reading section, is going to be key to a good author. So that being said, let's dive in some of my favorite authors. We're going to talk about 4 authors that I am absolutely in love with. And I do get notified every time they come out with a new book, at least most of them. I haven't gotten all of these authors' books, but they are on my list big time. Excuse me while I hydrate. All right, where to start? Okay, the first author I'm going to talk about is Amy Blackthorn. Now, she is getting a lot of recognition. There's a lot of podcasts that come out that she is speaking on, or even that she is hosting. This author is no nonsense. She's amazing. And I have 4 books here. So I have Blackthorn's Protection Magic, Sacred Smoke, and don't worry, I'll have all these down in the description box so that you can go order them online or go to your local bookstore and find. Blackthorn's Botanical Wellness and Blackthorn's Botanical Magic. So I'm going to start here with Blackthorn's Botanical Magic. Now, here we go. Bibliography. So automatically she knows her stuff. So why do I like Amy Blackthorn? Well, like I said, she's no nonsense and she doesn't skate around facts. In this particular book, it's all about essential oils. And she actually got me involved in essential oils. Before her, I was just working with herbs. And this book, this is pretty heavy, by the way. This book got me to a place where I wanted to work with essential oils in my practice. So I'm very, very excited. She talks about creating an essential oil blend, and it's from here that I started to make my own blend. She talks about visualizing. She talks about coming up with different combinations and how to blend them, how to name them. And then she goes into the different scents, the different herbs that scent the essential oils. And you can see here, she got into right here, this is clove. And then she gives all the correspondences. And then she goes into the lore, and then she goes into the uses, and then there's a couple recipes here, which is so helpful. And then what I really like about this book is towards the end, she goes into botanical divination, and she actually has an entire section on how to make your own pressed flower oracle. How cool is that? So highly recommend Blackthorn's Botanical Magic. Now this one, Blackthorn's Botanical Wellness. This goes into, it's a Green Witch's Guide to Self-Care. This goes into so many things, and I really could talk about this book. I've read it twice just to get all this information. She talks about how to know if you're holding emotions in your body and where pain settles. If you have pain in your upper back and shoulders, what that might be. Pain in the hips, what that might lead to, and what those emotions correspond to. I find that so very helpful. What else we got? Oh, wow. Okay, so in this section, she talks about how to create a servitor. And I've been studying chaos magic for a while now. And this breaks it down. She breaks it down into the what, who, where, how, when, and why you should have a servitor. And I actually did her ritual in here to create my own servitor. And that red candle back there is my servitor candle. So very, very cool, very in-depth, very accessible. You know, she doesn't beat around the bush. She really explains it in a way that's not overcomplicated. That is why I love her. Then she has, in this section, 28 days, the lunar self-care calendar, and how you can be taking care of yourself all year round and how to plan for that. She's so smart. And then there's a section for tarot guidance for wellness. And then she goes into all the cards and, you know, how each card can help you in your self-care healing journey. There's so many good sources out here. If you really want to take the journey to start taking better care of yourself, this book is the one. Sacred Smoke is all about incense and the different sources that you can use to make your own incense. She talks about, let's see what I have marked here. She talks about why smoke purifies and the history of using smoke to purify and fumigate. She talks about this, I loved this. She talks about toxic family members and allies, herbal allies to burn, to banish toxic family members. That's so great. Angelica, basil, clove, dragon's blood, frankincense, and pine, just so you know. And she talks about combining stones with smoke. That to me was very unusual and very different and very outside the box. So I was hesitant, but she made it sound very alluring and very mysterious and, again, accessible. So sacred smoke. And then the last one for Amy Blackthorn I would recommend is Blackthorn's Protection Magic. I am big on protection magic. Anyone who works with divination, works with energy, anyone who works with the craft, really, you're working with energy. If you work with deities, if you work with elements, if you work with angels, if you work with fae, whatever it is you're working with, protection is so very important spiritual hygiene. So in this book, she goes into boundary making, healthy boundaries, and what those mean as far as energetic boundaries, physical boundaries, which I think is so important nowadays. It really is. She talks about post-traumatic stress and complex post-traumatic stress. She goes into, the fight or flight responses. There's psychic exercises in here. She talks about a whole chapter on self-defense and why that is so important. And then she talks, of course, about protection herbs and what you can do to make your own wards, your own protection jars, and protection wards, and how to make your own herb bundles here, and all of that good stuff. So very, very useful for anyone. So Blackthorn's Protection Magic, A Witch's Guide to Mental and Physical Self-Defense. Wonderful, wonderful books. So that's Amy Blackthorn. Highly recommend her. All right, let's move on. The next author I'm going to talk about is Penny Billington. Now, Penny Billington writes a lot about animism and working with nature, which is right up my alley. So the books that I'm going to talk about, there's so many books of hers that I am collecting right now. I only have 3, but she's newer to me. She's probably one of the newest authors, to be honest, that I am getting to know. So the first one is The Path of Druidry, Walking the Ancient Green Way. This book is amazing because what it talks about is how to apply the principles of Druidism in your own ecological territory. So working with what you have outside your front door, working with your own natural environment, working with the trees that are already here, working with the plant life and animal life that are already here. So I thought that was so important, we work with what we have. So this book is so wonderful because she explains a concept and then she explains it in 3 different ways. So she uses the 3 rays. So if you're into Druidism, you know that 3-ray, the 3 rays of Awen. So she breaks this down in the nature ray. So that's the study of our natural surroundings. The knowledge ray, the study of myth and the inner realms. And then the devotional ray, cultivating a loving and compassionate attitude. So she approaches these things in 3 different ways. So you have 3 different perspectives on everything she covers. And that is really, really smart. This is a book that I listened to on Audible, and I had to have a physical copy. I just had to. What I really like about this book is that she finds mythic relevances for your area. So she'll tell you about the subject matter, and then she wants you to go out and find and mimic that subject matter, and find it in your own area. So like configurations of hills or even roofs on the horizon. Is there a sleeping giant? So you go out and you find the sleeping giant. Okay, so are some trees masculine or feminine in their nature? So find the masculine trees and the feminine trees. Are there damp, mysterious hollows? So you go and find the damp, mysterious hollows. And I think that's wonderful and a great way to interact with the nature around you. Wonderful book. Then we have the Wisdom of Birch Oak and Yew. If you've watched my channel, you know I'm absolutely in love with trees. I think that they are the most mysterious, the most ignored species on the planet. And, just they need a lot more love and attention. So I've only started this book. I haven't dove into it, but I found this wonderful passage that I wanted to read. And this is about the birch tree. And I wanted to share this with you because I just love her writing. The bark of the birch helps to heal wounds and burns. Incorporate its healing properties into your meditations so you can put your past actions into the storehouse of memory. What do we want to be now? What do we want to move and dance? In what shape do we feel completely comfortable? We are crafting the shapes of our lives. Soon, knowing that we will always return at will, we will be leaving the birch copse. Let us move forward, free and unencumbered, as we grow in grace and beauty. That is so lovely. This makes me want to go in the forest and hug all the trees. I love her writing. Now, this book was my best friend for about 6 months when I was going through it. My friend Allie, I was telling her all about it and I could not shut up about it. She got to hear all about this book. And this is 9 Ways to Charm a Dryad. You guys, this book changed the way I look at trees. So I had to go and find the face of all the trees and befriend all the trees and everything. It was amazing. So the way she writes this book, it's kind of like an adventure. So you have these journal prompts, and you have these little adventures that you go and you befriend these trees. And I'd like to, again, read this little passage. Trees and their dryads, in tune and harmonious with their surroundings, hold a latent power. They are in their right place. They have larger auras, longer lifespans, and a different perspective to us. They are of service, donating the raw materials of our lives. And as well as those physical gifts, they have more subtle gifts for humans. As we prepare to meet a dryad, let us pledge to honor and respect these wise and selfless beings. So you make a pledge to honor the trees. And I think that's beautiful. Now here they explain how your aura interacts with the auras of the trees, which I think is beautiful and just a lovely way to look at it as sharing space with the tree instead of just going up to it and ripping a branch off and then going home and then making an incense from that. You know, just basically just kind of taking what you want and doing what you want with it. There's a right way to do that and a kind way of doing it. And this book taught me that. Plus the illustrations in this book are so beautiful. And then I learned a little something called the Wood Wide Web, which is like the internet under the ground and how trees communicate. And I have another passage to read. If you don't like books, click off, because I have so many passages that I'm going to read to you today. I love books. Like my shirt says, I'm in my happy place. So the wood wide web of roots and fungi beneath you connects across entire countries and continents. Listen for the dryad's thoughts. Sit with the tree. Trust the process. This book really made a difference in my life. And if you'd like to get to know tree spirits and connect with them and have a relationship with them, this book will do that for you. Love it. All right, we are moving on. So the next author that I'm going to talk about is Corinne Boer. I'm going to get some water. Now, Corinne Boer, I would have never reached for. I had no idea. And I had a dream. And in this dream, true story, in this dream, I was handed this book, Under the Bramble Arch. And I had no idea, but it was given to me and I had it on my bookshelf. I had no idea I had it, but I was given it and it was just handed to me in my dream like this. And so I wasted no time. I grabbed it and I opened it and instantly fell in love. And I'd never been shown a book in my dreams before. So I took that as a big sign that this is something that I needed to read, because there was information here that was important. And boy, was I right to listen. Wow, this book, single-handedly, this book is the reason I have this cottage. Not a word of a lie. I can prove it to you. Let me find this picture. There's a picture in here of Corinne Boer in her cottage. Yes, this one right here. In her cottage, sweeping, doing the cottage witch thing. And I was like, I want that. I want that. And of course, I had to have the nettles hanging from the front door. And if you guys knew the cottage before the remodel, saw the nettles hanging, and I give her full credit. I wanted to be her. This book is amazing. Besides the fact that she's the inspiration for this cottage, I will talk about the book, not just the pictures. So this book does an amazing thing. So she talks about the different herbs, and there's a beautiful picture for each herb. And then she talks about the lore. Then she talks about, let's see. She talks about the lore. So I have marked here mugwort. That's my plant spirit. Mugwort. So she goes and she talks about the lore, and on here I have, as mugwort had associations with the summer solstice or midsummer, there is some lore surrounding it, specifically relating to that time of year. It was worn as a girdle on St. John's Eve for protection from ghosts or dark magic. The girdle of mugwort could then be thrown into the fires of midsummer to burn any misfortune of the wearer, in particular disease, an example of transference magic. So she goes into the lore, and then she goes into the folk medicine. So she goes into the medicinal uses, and then she goes into personal practices. These are ways she uses it magically. So use this plant for scrying, divination, and for enhancing clear seeing. An ointment may be made and used for anointing the third eye, behind the ears, and the chest. And guess what the base oil is infused with for my flying ointment? You betcha, mugwort. So for every single herb, she has the lore, the medicinal uses, and how she uses it in her personal practice. I think that's a genius layout. I really do. And then back here, she has recipes, and this double boiler method for infused honey is exactly how I use the recipe that I use to make my own infused honey. So if you buy infused honey from me, it comes from Corinne Boyer, this exact book. So whoever guide gave me this book in my dream, thank you, bless you, appreciate you. That's all I have to say about that book. All right, the next book I read was Under the Witching Tree. Same format except trees. Same exact format. So we've got Rowan here. You've got the lore. You've got the folk medicine, and then the personal practices. Same thing. And then you've got, the protective charms. Same exact format, except for it's trees. And then the next one I read, not this one, not yet. This one, Plants of the Devil. This book is all about the baneful plants, poisonous plants, and then these are how they were used in lore, and also how they were used medicinally. So it's all about dosage, right? Like a tiny bit of belladonna is actually helpful for a headache, but too much will kill you, right? And so she goes into those stories, and I love her writing, so I want to read a passage. By the stroke of midnight, haunted trees covered in verdant shadow became cloaked, hooded, shrouded, touched by the old one. Offerings and fumigations to call upon him or to repel the dark lord of the forbidden arts abound in the plant lore of old. Will he grant his favor, removing evil and disease from the living, or will he unleash his baneful curse, thrashing like the wings of the raven confined? Oh, I love her writing so much. And the illustrations, let me just say, love it. Her illustrations are just gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful. I don't know about you guys, but I like to have a story behind the herbs that I work with, or the plants that I work with, and the trees that I work with. I don't just want to have rowan tree, good for protection. it heals I want to know why. Where did that come from? And Corinne Boyer gives us that. And then the last one I want to talk about is The Witch's Cabinet. This book's amazing. It talks about all of the things that a witch should have in her apothecary. So it goes into lore, it goes into tradition, it goes into, of course, plant lore. Let's see. When seeking to explore the potent and at times delicate balance of light and dark mysteries that nature provides to the magic worker, one is often called to the old ways, the cycles of the seasons, and the mythos of the land itself. Significant insight can be gained from investigation into the green world of plants and trees, for herein lies an entire spectrum of powers to draw upon, be instructed and inspired by, and to seek the embodiment of spirit force by way of consensual relation and sacrifice. Beautiful, beautiful writing. Love it. She goes into discovering witches and fairies and the lore behind certain superstitions and beliefs and why we have those. So wonderful, wonderful book. Corinne Boyer. Check her out. She's amazing. All right. The last author I'm going to talk about, save the best for last, Roger J. Horn. Now, Roger J. Horn is not for everyone. He likes his prose. He's a bit dramatic, like me. He gets very wordy. He is a folk practitioner, similar to Corinne Boyer. These two authors are very, very similar. Similar writing styles, even similar illustration-wise as well. So the first book I want to talk about is Folk Witchcraft, A Guide to Lore, Land, and the Familiar Spirit for the Solitary Practitioner. Now, even if you're not a solitary practitioner, I've actually used the full moon or the Espit right out of here and adapted it for my coven. Yeah, we use all the full moons are out of here. So in this book, he just talks about the basics of folk witchcraft, where it comes from, and what it's all about. So I'm going to read this passage. We are here to talk about witchcraft and spirits about the land. We are going to talk about the cycles of nature and what they mean. We'll talk about our dreams and visions. We'll nourish our spirits and wisdom from the old lore. Beyond the crackling fire's glow, the shadows lingering between the trees could almost be our ancestors. Chills, chills. I love him. He'll talk about animal spirits, and you can see the illustrations here are very simple, very accessible. Certain animals are associated with witches more than others, though these vary in the lore of different cultures. Frequently, cats, dogs, serpents, hares, bats, toads, spiders, and birds top the list. What is interesting about these animals as a group is their incredible utility to humans living in a rural setting. So he's, a little bit flowery, but very, very, not so flowery to where you can't understand. He has a wonderful circle casting to lay a simple ring. Before me, behind me, on my right hand, in my left hand, above me and below me, I conjure thee a ring of art. And there's a way that to cast a more ornate ring. And this book just has so many, there's different rites that you can do, different sabbats, different charms. There's the 9 herb charm here. Lots of traditional and folk witchcraft in here. Again, he does his research. He really does. And I really like it. Goes into the Theban magical alphabet down here. This book is so handy for the beginner. Wonderful, wonderful book. And then we have A Broom at Midnight, 13 Gates of Witchcraft by Spirit Flight. And he goes into 13 ways to astral travel. So, you know, he uses smoke, scrying, using, working with animal spirits, you know, all different ways, and, you know, mirrors, all different ways in which you can spirit flight. Use of psychedelics and everything, and just different ways in which to astral travel. If you are into astral travel and you're not quite sure what modality you want to use, this book is perfect for that, because it allows you to try different ways of working with that. So I love this book. I actually tried a couple of different ways, and now I found my forever way. So love that book. Then we have The Witch's Devil, which explores the tradition of working with the witch's devil, or the man in black, or the horned one. And I was in love with this book from the introduction, so I will just read that for you guys. Now do we step into the dark. The lantern light flickers, its dim glow faltering even as you clutch it in your left hand tightly. The trail before us barely visible among the vines and weeds. The blackness of the woods at night surrounds us like a cloak. Crickets sound their trill. The cool air conjures clouds from our breath like a spell. Oh, I love Roger J. Horn. You know, with all of the books that, forgive me, I have read a lot of books that tell you what to do. I don't like that. But someone that takes you on an adventure like he does, and like Corinne Boyer does, and Penny Billington, yes, take me on an adventure. Give me options. Give me choices. Open doors for me. Don't tell me this is the way and there's no other way and you have to do it like this. I will put a book down and ignore it just like that if you tell me that. But if you open a door and you lead me into it and you say, it could be like this, I am way more likely to read that book and to keep reading books that you write. Am I right? I'm right. All right, and the last one is The Witch's Art of Incantation. Spoken charms, spells, and curses in folk witchcraft. So, so many things in here. First of all, there's Latinate charms in here, and there's charms in English. So I'm just going to show you guys a couple of these. I'm not going to read them out loud because I've got candles going. I'm not trying to conjure anything. I'm not intentionally trying to set anything into action. But I'll just let you guys know what is in here. So, a conjuration of the Queen of Elfame. We've got a call to the benevolent plant spirit. This is beautiful, beautiful. Let's see. A Latinate charm to achieve honor and success. This takes a little bit of practice to read the Latinate charms, a little bit of practice, but if you like that, if that's your thing, it's wonderful. Now, this one, and he tells you exactly where he gets it. This is an infernal malediction. If you're really pissed, if you really pissed, this one would do it. A Latinate charm for victory over an enemy. A charm for scrying. A chant to anoint a divinatory tool. I mean, this is such a good resource. A charm for safe travels. You could make this into a petition. You could make this into a sigil. Beautiful. Charm against sickness. Let's see what else I got. A charm for protection against the evil eye. There's so many good resources here. And yeah, very much going to be in my library for the rest of my life. Yeah, I don't like to loan these out. I will, but on a very short leash. You know, maybe just my coven members can borrow. But I tell them, hey, if you need something, take a picture and then, you know, copy it from there, because I don't like to loan that book out very often. So these are authors that I cannot get enough of. If you have any suggestions on authors that you think I would like based on what you've seen that I like, please drop them in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to attempt to make a video every Monday and get it out to you guys every Monday. Going to try and make it part of my daily practice on Mondays because I miss being on camera. I think I let life get too busy for me and it kind of gets shoved to the side. So I'm really going to try to get on here more often. And I think Mondays is going to be our day. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, give me a like, subscribe, share to your friends. I will make sure to put all of these books down in the description below, and have a very blessed day. We'll see you next time.